It was an age of war sails. The forest of Battania, an invaluable resource for turning kingdoms into empires, was under attack from all sides. Battanians fought to save their lands and culture from extinction. But now the waters flow, not only with trade, but ships and soldiers as well. Enemies near and far sail and attack with impunity. Though the sons of Battania fought savagely, the onslaught was relentless. As castles and cities began to fall, a frustrated king roared at his nobles, desperate for anything that could turn back this tide of darkness. But with no means of contesting the waterways, all knew the end was nigh. When eyeing Battanian lands, many see only the trees. But look to the heart of the forest, the sacred and majestic Lake Nofish. From its icy bounty, rivers flow. And nestled into the bend of one of these frozen rivers lies the logging village of Uthalam. Here, villagers spend their days felling trees to sell to the imperial shipwrights in Epicrotia. But there are others who also seek to profit from the timber trade. And with the king and his men away at war, bandits began to overrun the countryside. Something must be done, the villagers cried to the elders. A young Battanian warrior who was almost of age, named Boric, offered to build a war band to fight back against the bandit plague. A collection of 1,000 dinar and an old sumpter horse were all the beleaguered community could muster to support their champion. And in the morning, the banner lord rode out with the rising sun. It did not take long to find those who had lost friends or fortune to the bandits and were eager for revenge. The warband patrolled up and down the river looking for trouble. There were many bloody lessons along those riverbanks. Battle after battle, the river patrol honed their craft. Javelin and shield, a perfect combination of lethality and protection. Boric and his Skipari, as they became known, beat the bandits all the way back to their hideout. They stormed in and slaughtered the bandit leader and his men. Trade once again flowed freely downstream. News of the bandits' defeat traveled like flames through the forest, camp to camp, village to village, until it had reached the ears of the king. Boric was summoned to Marineth. The Battanians were at war with the Western Empire's legions. With firm control over the rivers, Garrios was free to attack, defend, or supply any town or force along their banks. If Boric and his Skipari could find any way to break the Empire's control of the river, they would be greatly rewarded. And so they marched south. They arrived at the village of Lenakhen and rested until the morning. Boric and his men rose early and painted their faces, covering themselves in leaves and limbs. And then they waited, hidden along the shore. When the Imperial patrol ships sailed by, they were unaware they were being watched. It was a tough situation. The southern rivers were much wider and deeper than the ones he grew up on. There was no way to ambush or strike from the shore. They would have to attack the Imperials on the water. And so, they would need ships. But the Battanians have no ships of war. The only vessels available were Berlins, Small, narrow river craft made for hauling goods, but they would have to do. The next time the Imperial patrol arrived, the Skipari launched their vessels into the water, piled in, and began to row with all their might. The Imperial captain and his men cheered as they spotted the two trade ships in the water. Whatever goods these boats were hauling, they would need to be taxed to ensure their safety. But as the trade craft continued surging towards them, the captain's curiosity shifted to concern. Once they were close enough to recognize the armor and shields, it was too late. Javelins tore through the air, puncturing armor and flesh. The river ran red. Of all the loot captured, the greatest prize was the ship. The Liburna was an old traditional warship that the Imperials now relegated to river patrol duties. A lesser ship to the pompous Imperial shipwrights, but the simple, effective design was perfect for the Skipari way of war. They pulled the ships ashore and removed any sign of conflict from the river. And again, they waited. By evening, another patrol ship was spotted heading upriver, no doubt in search of the first one. And soon, one captured Liburna became two. River patrols, trade convoys, even nobles and their parties. None were safe. Gyarios gathered his legions and marched at once to break these savages. But Caladog, with the help of his river patrol, prepared to meet them. Boric and his Skipari had once again concealed themselves along the riverbank. Once the lines had clashed, they rushed out from hiding and unleashed their javelins. The horrific volleys tore through the Legion lines, and the battle became a slaughter. With the rivers controlled and the Legion crushed, the town of Lagada was cut off and conquered. And so there was a great celebration. Beer and wine flowed while music filled the air. And the bards sang songs of how Boric and his skilled Skipari had humbled the mighty legions. King Caladog, eager to secure the loyalty of the Rising Star, brought Boric into the family. He proclaimed his new son-in-law a noble of Battania, clan leader of the Fin Nathrak Mara. Caladog left Boric with a word of warning. The Empire would be back to reclaim the port city and control of the river. But Boric was not afraid. The captured Imperial shipwrights were already hard at work, building the future. Oh, how the civilized will weep once they learn that the savages can sail. Oh, Battania mains. You like the boat barn video? How long? You watched it and you thought, hold on, I didn't see any of the Battanian stuff. You looked back through there and then you got real curious. Did he just forget about Battania? And then you thought about it a little bit and you remembered what channel this is. And then slowly, and I mean very slowly, since we're talking about Battania mains here, we're not even worth mentioning. Is that, where does this motherfucker get the nerve? Huh. Oh, God. Easy. Easy, Battania mains. Take it easy. Cooked you up a nice little Battania naval playthrough here that you're going to have a lot of fun with. And you know, with all my playthroughs, I like to throw in some rules for your consideration, just to make the playthrough a little unique. When we talk about a Battania playthrough, what's one rule we always have to put in place? A Fian cap. Because if you don't, these little forest freaks will run around with their little OP forest perk, grab their little OP units, and just start running and gunning right out the chute. Most psycho ones will even throw smithing on top. It makes me sick. Listen here, you little Fian freaks. War Sales is here now, and I'm looking at the Unicard. You know what I don't see? I don't see a Mariner perk. And what does that tell you? Fians don't surf. But fear not, because I got just the man for you. One look at the hat and the face paint, and it's love at first sight. And what can you see right away? We're peacocking. This hat drives me wild. It drove me so wild. In fact, I got him for all the crew. We're all sporting that peacock hat, except for my B-Sag. She really likes that royal helm. She's a princess. She gets to wear what she wants. But everybody else, getting the 3 feathers. That's how we roll. Riddle me this, Banner Lord. Why would a noble troop follow someone who's not a noble? And in this playthrough, they don't. You want noble troops? You become a noble of a faction. Or if you're rescuing from a bandit party or something, I could see where they would sign up to help you then. It's Skipari only until you become a noble of Valandia. What I actually like to do is put them in loose formation, and then they really get to slinging these javelins out. You'll see. And boy, these javelins, I mean, just so lethal. You got to check these guys out. They are death dealers. And just this green with this bronze, this is such a badass unit. And what does he have back here? Oh, bags full of these death sticks. How many? Too many. Throwing weapons are completely out of control. There's way too many of them. There needs to be a huge reduction in the number of throwing weapons. I'm even cool if you increase the damage they do to shields to compensate. I mean, they should mess up shields, but everybody having 30 throwing weapons is just getting insane. But my boy hits you with those blue crystals, looks you right in the eye, and what's he say to you? He says, Oklahoma, don't hate the player, hate the game. And my man here, he is in the hooked javelin business, 117 Pierce. He's got 140 throwing. You throw a captain with a whole bunch of throwing perks on top of this, and these guys clear decks. What's the drawback? Well, he's a real Mariner troop. In War Sales, regular units suffer debuffs fighting at sea. You bring in these Mariner troops, and they don't suffer a debuff fighting at sea. They excel at it, and their equipment very much excels at it. However, the trade-off is they're not as heavily armored. I feel ambivalent about the Mariner concept in general. I love the troops, but I don't really like the idea. I don't find it a lot of fun, and I don't think that the Nords need the other factions nerf on the water. I think everybody can just fight on the water without water debuffs, and it'll be fine. If you just come into this Mariner skill tree and you grab enough of this stuff where you're given plus 15% melee damage and plus 50% armor pen, and then another plus 15% to bow damage dealt by. If you just grab this skill tree right here, it's enough of a buff to make your troops good enough on the water that you don't even need the Mariner troops. I get a lot of pushback whenever I say the Mariner troop thing just really is awkward. People are like, I like it. And I was like, well, I like the Mariner troops, but the Mariner system is just, it's not needed. It doesn't even apply to the goddamn faction it was made for. The Nords have heavily armored Mariner troops. They look awesome. God, I love these troops. They're so incredible. But if casualties are your concern, just know you'll take a lot more casualties fighting with your Skipari and land battles than you will with your wildlings and sea battles. These guys do plenty fine in sea battles. But let's be honest, they don't look nearly as cool. There's a lot of solutions here. You could just remove the Mariner status from all the Nord units and give them an actual Mariner unit. Or, and this is my favorite, we can just get rid of the whole Mariner shit. We need to do a throwing weapon overhaul anyway. And we need to reduce the amount of throwing weapons dramatically. And then units that are going to be offensive skirmishing javelin units should have the lighter armor in exchange for more javelins. And then these units that have a ton of javelins and heavy armor should have to pick. In this playthrough, we're doing Skipari from start all the way up until we're a noble, and then we can start bringing in the other stuff. You'll really enjoy playing with these units. They're very powerful, and once you get a bunch of them together, they look awesome and they perform outstanding. But do be careful in field battles because they are not well armored and they will go down. I'll show you my build here. This is actually just my Kraken build. I've used it a couple of times now because I keep perfecting it every time there's something else I try or a different talent. And I think I've locked it in perfectly here. This is like my favorite build in the game right now, other than my Bobo Khan build, of course. We get that one-handed, mostly because at some point you do run out of javelins, so you need it. A lot of great things about one-handed. It's great for tournaments. There's some amazing buffs in here, especially for shielded infantry. And then, of course, throwing, because when it comes to ship combat, the javelins just reign supreme. And these throwing buffs make you a god among men. It's so awesome. Feel like you're throwing touchdowns all night, baby. And I'm going to show you how it's done here in just a second. Prepare to be in awe, Oklahoma gang. Don't you know? What do I tell you about throwing? You don't listen to me. You do not need 7 points in throwing. Why would you even go past 5? 5 and 5 is going to get you impale all the way up to like 263 or whatever. So you're fine. It's going to get you that impale that you need. And that's it. Once you have this talent, you're one-shotting everybody. Only a psycho goes for this. This is stupid. Don't do that. It's ridiculous. There's so many OP things about athletics. It makes you a monster on the battlefield. It's a huge quality of life improvement. Plus, you get 2 attribute points. One of my favorite perks for this playthrough is Ignore Pain. You'll see that +5 armor to all pieces of foot troops in your formation. Well, just make sure you're in that formation, and this is a bunch of extra armor for those Skipari. I'm in a roguery crisis at the moment because in the end, I think I realized that, look, I've only got 2 attribute points, but just with 5 focus, I can get all the way up to 218 skill limit. The most important perk in this whole thing is honestly Partners in Crime, where you can just directly recruit bandit parties that surrender. In war sales, they don't surrender like they used to. They nerfed the surrendering a little bit because it was getting a little OP. You could just go recruit 1,000 bandits in no time, but they surrender consistently enough. And one of the best things about that perk is if you're behind enemy lines and you lose 10 or 15, 20, 30 guys, maybe a Lord army comes and you get in a big fight behind enemy lines, you don't want to have to load in your ship and come all the way back here and grab guys. But if there's forest bandits around or sea raiders, or mountain bandits even. I mean, anything will work. The nice thing about the forest bandits is, remember, if we also have this leadership perk, which of course we do, Veterans Respect, we can convert those forest bandits into Fians. So if you're behind enemy lines and there's a bunch of forest bandits around, you've always got replacements coming in. One of the things to be really aware of in this playthrough is you have to balance your time on the sea versus your time on the land. You're going to have to fight a lot of land battles to help turn the tide against Valandia. But once you do, there will be breaks. And of course, during peacetime is one of my favorite times to just hop on my ship and you can come out here and just farm. When you're at war with the Western Empire, you make so much money because you can hop on your ship. Okay, this is what I do. You hop on your ship, right? Go to port, you set sail, and look at my baby. You know what it's called? You want to see? That's the beautiful Mount Javelin. Yeah, listen. Hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about it in a second. I get excited. You know how I get. You're going to get at war with the Western Empire, and you set sail out here, right? And then you're kicking ass and taking names. At some point, you're going to see, because I have a scout with just a ton of scouting. And look right there. I mean, there's armored convoys up here. These things are worth so much money. Remember the convoys, too. Oh, this perk right here. Plus 30% loot from defeated merchant convoys. And on top of the extra plus 42% battle loot, these things just become little ADMs, automatic dinar machines. once you have all those perks stacked up, they're super easy to take down, especially on the river. Matter of fact, I might just hit that thing to show you. No, we'll do that in the battle part. Okay, hold on. What am I telling you? Stop distracting me. Look, you're going to come in this river. You're going to be kicking the shit out of everything in here. You're going to be hitting caravans, convoys. These dumb little lords will get in their boats, and you'll be like, bam, I got you too. And then you can take their big ships and stuff. It's great. But at some point, they're going to have a legion or something, and you're going to see the legion come. And then all you do is you hop on land, and you come in here. I don't give a shit. There you go. Give it to her. She put her time in. You know, she looks like she definitely deserves another castle. And then all you do is you just pull up that kingdom tab, and I started an army, but it's just my own clan members here. I'm not pulling from the factions. And then once you've collected your army, you can do whatever you want. You can just go right at them. You can let them wear themselves out for a little bit. If it's a big 1,800-man army, and let them hit the walls. You could just go tuck yourself into Laguna, so that even if there is an 1,800-man army coming, sometimes if you put your 600 guys in here, they'll decide to go somewhere else, to someone else's fief. The dream is you come in here and they hit your walls, and this is full of javelin men and Fians. Unfortunately, sometimes the AI is a little smarter than that, but this is a great setup. I mean, this is a fantastic place to make a ton of money and have a ton of impact on the game. Now you can see we're going all the way in leadership, which means soon I'll be able to have even more javelin men. When it comes to the war sail skills here, it is entirely true that, especially if you have mariner troops in your army, you can win on the ocean without having any of this stuff. And you could argue that since so much fighting and conquering really needs to just be done on land, that you don't need to invest a lot in this. In my opinion, it's just that two things are true. You can absolutely avoid the naval gameplay, but it's also true that there's some advantages to having a navy and using it. And one of the big ones, I mean, even here, what I like to do and where I really started kicking ass is I would just load up on my ships and come down here behind enemy lines and just raid everything. And I'll show you how I took Sargot. Sargot was a breeze. Easiest siege you've ever done in your life right here. I'll show you how to do it, because you get to a point where you can just put the enemy in such a bad position, and that's all you want to do. But the Navy can really help you do that. Plus, the ability to strike and then just go away if you get in trouble is fantastic. I mean, that's the dream, right? Cause all the trouble you want and then get away scot-free. And let's be honest, you're a stud without them, but with these buffs, it's a lot of fun. Plus, I got to tell you, my favorite thing about the naval warfare is that it gives you something to do during peacetime. Remember when your faction would be at peace and you could like run around and hit bandits and shit? But I mean, that wasn't that fun. Now I can run around and get my navy buffed up. This build and setup is fantastic for every type of combat. Field battles, siege battles, naval battles. You are going to dominate. You're going to have a big ass personal party. On top of that, you're going to have extra clan parties. So you're going to have a huge personal army. You capture some ships, send them to your clan. Now you have an armada and you're controlling the seas with your Battanian warlord. And it's awesome. You are going to love it. Just be careful, because it starts a cycle of violence that goes till early in the morning. Be real careful with this playthrough. You can get caught up in it. All right, we talked about troops. Let's talk about ships. The only ship you are allowed to buy and start in is the Battanian Berlin. The Berlin is just a very flat river vessel. It doesn't look like much when you look at it, but it's actually perfect for these little river patrols, because you can see it's really spacious. It's a nice platform ship for your javelin units here to start slinging their javelins from. And this is the only way you can use ships in this game. There's two ways. You can steal them, or you can conquer a city with a port and buy them with your port. So you can only use the Berlins until you either capture a better ship or you capture a town with a port and then buy ships from that. But you can only buy them from the port that you've captured, okay? That'll be a fun little rule. So you'll have to be a little Battanian pirate captain if you want to get your hands on the good stuff, or you'll have to conquer a city. Do be aware that when you come at these Imperial patrols, they're full of those Imperial Nates, and it gets to be a real javelin shootout. One more, look at it. No! Oh, nice shot. Hey! See, we've been practicing. This is what I'm telling you. Look at all these javelins sticking in both sides. The Nate versus the Skipari. Javelins to the death. And yeah, it gets pretty bloody in these fights. Yeah. Loot. But let's see if I got the ship. Ah, shit. I didn't get it. Well, we'll keep trying. I know some Battania mains feel like they got slighted in the War Sales expansion, but I have to say, I really like it when factions have strengths and weaknesses. Starting from these little river boats and trying to build a navy from captured ships is a hell of a campaign, and I think you're going to have a good time doing it. I have no intention of hitting these walls unless I could starve out the garrison and it was only the militia left. And you have to be careful because right now there's a bug where in some cities, even if you starve them, the garrison won't starve out. In this case, I just laid siege to Sarga and I waited for them to bring an army. To be honest, at this point, I think I'd had a few, and I really hadn't paid attention to just how built up they had. I wasn't really paying attention to the numbers. They built up an army, they brought it, and now they're attacking me in my siege camp, which means they also got the garrison. You'll see this 318 garrison is coming too. The beauty of this is if they lose this battle, they all die and I get the fief if they lose. But you can see they got the numbers. And here come the brave sons of Valandia now. When it comes to fighting in land battles, I just say get porcupine. Get your javelinmen and your archers. Everybody stick together and get real prickly. When it comes to javelinmen, you've got a few options. You'll see they button up very nicely in shield wall here. Even in the back, they kind of got the coverage over the top, which is nice. Make sure you have them hold fire because they'll try to pull back and they'll open up and then now crossbowmen will hit them. And that's the big risk with these Valandian armies. It's not even the cavalry. It's the damn crossbowmen because your guys aren't as armored, remember. So I like to button them up. However, they suck at throwing javelins in shield wall formation. You'd really want to put them in line formation is probably the best compromise. But when the enemy has how many? 120 crossbows, probably leave them in shield wall for a little bit to soak some of that. And just let the Fians do most of the killing. They're pretty good at it from what I hear. We'll find out. We're going to put it to these pony boys. Let's go, baby! And just start tossing out the fun sticks. Oh, how they love it. Dude, what game gives you this type of battle? Not one. Only Bannerlord, baby, and this is what we love about it. This is what makes all that shitty campaign AI worth it. What's kind of cool about this setup is that the usual risk of shield wall is being flanked, but with your Fians right here all spread behind them, when they try to flank around, the Fleans gun them down. So you kind of get the benefit of having your shield wall without any of the drawbacks. So you can see those archers are gunning us down. I've lost a few guys. 25 guys I've lost. And there's how many crossbowmen shooting? 156? So that's pretty good. You got to admire those Valandians. They sure are brave. But ponies and hills and trees don't do so well together. Hell yeah, I'm going to pillage it. There we go. Knock it down a notch. And then, of course, in the battles where the enemy's on defense and they're all posted up, all you have to do is use the Fians to pull them for you. And just always remember the porcupine principle. We want the enemy to come at us so that we can hit them with all of our shit while they're coming in. All these javelins and arrows. Here come the javelins. And this is what you want. Look at the cavalry getting decimated. And then look, they're going after my Fians. We're going to set our javelins to flank right here, and we're going to toss them. Oh my God, if that infantry does not turn to face these javelins, watch that flank. Watch that flank get melted. Yeah, well, that was smart. But now, look, they turn to face the Skipari, and what are the Fians going to do to your unshielded side? They're going to do what they're doing right there. Fuck it, let's go. It's the moment of victory, boys. Get in there. Oh, shit, that's an interception. It's all right. Keep throwing it, though, baby. Watch it. You're going to see this build. You want to see it in action? Touchdown! When it comes to tips at sea, my suggestion is get a big-ass ship and fill it full of Skipari and Fians. You're about to find out why we call this Mount Javelin. You see the skill. Oh, my God. He's so amazing. That Oklahoma, what a stud. You see it. Just throwing touchdowns all day. That's what this build's about. Now, do not go charging across there. You make them come at you. You hear me? We want them coming out on that little bridge, because that little bridge is a little death zone. See how they're all out there? And now I can just sit here and give them the good news. Javelins are the new meta. That's the good news. Now, come on. What, am I out? Where's that refill basket? You come down here. How many more do I got? There we go. 16 more. Beautiful. This ship is perfect. You can see we're throwing javelins from everywhere. These guys are fighting. The guys up here in the back in the archer section are getting it on. There's just nothing like these Dromons. They're incredible. Ooh, look at that garab. And you know what we'll do? We'll take that. And then when we get it, we're going to send it to clan. And that'll be part of my clan's armada now. Beautiful addition. Now let me show you one more battle, because I'm having a ball and I want to show off my kick-ass guy and his big-ass army. Isn't that sweet? Look at that. Look at the hats. Huh? Oh, you love it. If you think about your land battles more as giant skirmishes than clashes of shields and men, you can really get a lot of success out of these armies. These Valandians are always just tough because of the amount of crossbows they have. The combination of cavalry and crossbows just makes them very difficult. But you can see it's quite manageable. And you can really see how good the shields are. These Skipari are not that armored. But if you keep them in nice defensive formations and use the Fians to draw the enemies to you and deal with a lot of the ranged problems, then you'll see. I mean, what I take 52 casualties, so not that bad. And some of that is the archers and Fians that got charged by the cav. These Skipari are an amazingly versatile troop. You can shield wall them up and use them as an anvil. You can spread them out, use them as skirmishers to flank. Whatever you need them to do, they got you. And Battania mains, I mean, come on now. Between the Falksmen and the Skipari, I think you got a pretty good deal in war sales. And these Battanian units in battles, holy smokes. I know you guys have been begging for a playthrough, so that's what's coming next. I'm going to do this Javelin build, but I'll let you, Oklahoma gang, well, those of you who watch this video, I'll let you decide which playthrough you want. Do you want to see it from a Battanian perspective, or do you want to see the Javelin build from the Nord perspective? You guys can vote down in the comments. Someone say Battania, someone say Nord, and you guys thumbs up whichever one you want. And then after 24 hours or so, I'll look at it. And whichever one has the most thumbs up, I'll start from that faction. Don't get too worked up about it. I may end up doing both of them anyway. But for the next video, you decide. Javelin build, Nord or Battania. Let me know how you want it, Oklahoma gang. I got you, family. So if you're looking for an insanely fun and an insanely lethal playthrough, grab your Javelin and shield, get out here and see if you've got what it takes to make it in the Battanian River Patrol. Oklahoma out.